Hi, all, Agent here, and we're going to discuss a hot topic. It's almost always been a very polarizing topic on the forums, and that is the topic of drones. We're going to play this match, and there are two platoons. There's one on my side that appears to be two guys that haven't quite loaded in yet, and then the enemy team has a four-man platoon, maybe five, but what we can say for sure is that there's four of them in the same clan, all playing together on the enemy side, and I believe three of them are using drones, and one is using a fast laser hover that he uses to capture towers very effectively with. Now this team, they're pretty cohesive. They're not top-notch, like upper-level competitive material, but I've seen a lot of these players, and they are good players. They're not bad players. Three of them, like I said, are in drones, and one guy likes to use his quick hover to get around and capture towers. This team is very good at capturing towers. They have a fairly cohesive team. I've seen a lot better teamwork before. I'm not trying to pick on these guys or knock these guys. I'm just it just so happened that I got to be in this match, and I'm using it as an example of the average drone pilot. A lot of you guys hate a certain clan because they are well known for their drones and their teamwork, and it's their teamwork that makes them as powerful as they are. Excuse me. It's not the build, it's not the drone. You're going to see in this match, these drones are difficult to deal with, and we don't have a lot of flak and lock-ons or even rails on our side, but we do have a lot of lasers. We have some mechs, and I honestly didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the builds on my team. We do have what appears to be a single drone on my team, and then we have me. This copter was intended to do air-to-air combat as an interceptor copter. It flies much like a heavy bomber and a heavy copter kind of combined. Once I get moving forward momentum, it handles a lot like a heavy bomber would. So we have normal bots. We don't have bots here that were intended to fight drones. We don't have anybody on our side that has rails that are specifically targeting the drones. Like if I had rails in this match, I would be shooting at the drones mostly. But I'm flying a laser copter. We don't have flak bots that focus on taking down air, and we also don't have any LAMLs, I believe. We do not have lock-on missile launchers to assist with taking down these drones. So we're not playing with hard counters to these drones. In fact, we have what looked to be like an ArtBot copter on our side. Mine's not really an art bot. It was meant to look cool, but to be effective as well. I do get knocked down quite a few times, but I do have some hard counters. The enemy team has hard counters to air, which would normally exacerbate the drone quote-unquote problem. It would make it difficult for interceptors and anything in the air to go head-to-head with these drones, and my opinion is that if you're not using rails, an interceptor or another drone is the absolute best way to fight drones, aside from your other countermeasures such as flak and lock-on missiles. So that was one of the guys on their platoon. It's not a full platoon of 4 drones. It is a platoon of 3 drones and what appears to be a laser hover that gets around quickly and captures towers, and he rushes our base a little bit. But the fact is that they definitely outnumber us in drones. I count 3 right now that I see. They may have a 4th. I wasn't really paying that close of attention. I just kind of did what was needed throughout the match. I don't really actually score very high. I think I was in like 3rd or 4th place at the end of the match. But and fighting these drones and kind of keeping the attention of the rail and the lock-on me a fair amount of the match, I believe it allowed the rest of my team to handle the drones fairly well. And I'm really proud of this team because nobody rage quit right away. We do have a surrender vote. I think maybe we had one quitter, but I'm not sure about that. Right now we have everybody is still in. Our guys are respawning, so that's good. A lot of times people will see these clans that are using these drones, and they they'll quit right away, or they'll quit after we lose all of our towers. And the drones are very effective at getting around the map quickly. There are better builds to take towers with, unless you have like the copter hybrid drones that have like one rotor blade for hovering on top. Otherwise, they have to circle, and they can't pinpoint target like we're doing here right down those connector strips. They just have to kind of use a sledgehammer, so to say, and just pound through all the crystals with their plasma or lasers. But they are good at getting around the map very quickly and taking towers, especially when more than one of them are on the tower. Another helpful thing on this match is that we don't get into a place where half or more than half of the team is dead. Usually that's a turning point when you're fighting drones. And it's not because they're drones, it's because the team is coordinated. They will move in, and you'll get into a position where you're locked into a spawn camp position. You can't do anything because you're spawning back in one by one, and all these bots are circling overhead, and they can focus fire your whole team down one by one as they spawn back in. We don't get locked into a situation like that here. And I want to be clear, that can happen with copters, that can happen with chain gun mechs, it can happen with laser hovers, it can happen with sprinter leg bots, it can happen with darn near any bot type that you could, be reasonably competitive with. Maybe not walker legs. I've seen it happen even with cruisers, and I've seen it happen with art bots. Excuse me again. So it's not really the drones themselves. They complement teamwork really, really well. Anything that has high mobility is going to complement teamwork, because it's going to allow your team to address problem areas such as towers or groups of enemies or lone enemies even very quickly and effectively, and get around the map. Mobility and agility are king in this game, and that is why drones are perceived as being overpowered. That is because slower builds, and especially slow ground builds, can't really be tough enough to offset the advantage that being agile and mobile do. They don't have any better weapons really that can take down the drones fast enough before they can escape to offset the fact that you're slow and you're limited to the ground. It's more of a balance issue with the game and not the drones themselves. We can't really make these drones any weaker than they already are. They're not very tough. Like I said, usually, and I've got an example of this, it's not in this video, but I sat dead still in a cruiser yesterday playing with rails, no other weapons. I had no lasers, I had no plasma, no lock-ons, just pure freaking rails. And I sat dead still and went toe-to-toe with a drone at medium range, and the drone wound up having to retreat. That right there, I'm an easy target sitting there on the ground. If drones were overpowered, and I missed a couple shots here and there, but I landed most of them. If drones were overpowered, I would have been dead in a heartbeat. There's no way I could have just sat still and been a stupid, motionless ground target and forced this drone into a retreat. They're not really tough. The thing that makes them appear to be tough is that their movement parts are enclosed, and everybody knows that, right? I'm not teaching you anything new. Their movement parts are enclosed, so when they've taken enough damage, they know when it's time to get out of there. All their movement parts, or most of their movement parts, are intact, and they can easily retreat to safety and heal and come back. You can blame auto heal if you want. That's fine. I prefer to really not blame anything except overall game balance. There are many, many factors that come into play here, and it's just not any one thing that would even make these seem like they're overpowered. I don't want to say to make them overpowered, because I don't really feel like they are. When I encounter your average drone pilot in this copter, or even copters with vaporizers instead of disintegrators, rail cruisers, laser hovers, those are the three main things I play, and I do not have problems dealing with a single drone in a 1v1 situation in any of these builds. Locked to the ground, no backup weapons, only rails, or playing a hover or even a rail tank. I used to play rail tanks a lot. I don't right now because I do not like how they control. I'm not going to build a new one because I've got one I really like. I'm just going to patiently wait for them to completely rework tank tracks, and hopefully the camera control rework was not the finished product. The point is, there are a number of builds that are effective at everything. You don't have to build something that is specifically tailored to take down drones. You can. That's fine. I'm not going to knock you for that. Like I said, I'd built a hover that was, its intent was to take down and hunt down these drones, and it was just good at everything else too. But you don't have to build a purpose-built bot. You have to have a good build, and you have to be a good player to take down a good player in a good build. But a lot of the players that these complaints come from aren't the greatest players, and they aren't the greatest builders. And I'm not trying to make fun of anybody or demean anyone or degrade anyone or make it seem like they're not good players so their opinions are worthless. I'm just being realistic here. There are always going to be players who are better than you or have a more effective build or a better build for the situation you're in. That doesn't mean that it's overpowered. If you're not the greatest builder, I do want to recommend that you keep trying and you learn and watch some videos and download some bots from the factory and dissect them, take them apart, see how they work, and then re-download them. You can deconstruct them fully and then re-download them free of charge if you have all the parts. I suggest doing all that stuff and learning what makes some of these bots tick that are effective instead of just stacking a whole bunch of full cubes on top of a couple legs and slapping some guns around the outside and calling it your build. There's a lot more effective building techniques than that. Just because it looks cool doesn't mean it's bad, and just because it looks cool doesn't mean it's good. And much the same with the drones. Just because it looks bad, like those the tesseracts, the flying sponges or bricks, people like to call them, they're ugly as hell, but they're very good and very effective builds. They are not very tough. I don't personally think they need any more nerfs than they've already had between the new weapons we've got and the changes to existing weapons and the cube nerfs. It's really enough to where it's just teamwork that is making these builds seem like they're overpowered. That's the whole point of this video too, is that we have an enemy team that's got a number of drones in a platoon, same clan platoon. These guys play together. They know how they work together, and it's just not working out for them. We are going to win this match. There's some clutch moments coming up really soon here that we're gonna see that change the tide of the battle. Like right now, I'm going to go into base. I thought there was a whole bunch of them in here. I needed to heal anyway, so we wanted to defend our base. But I'm going to engage these two drones right now, and as you can see, they'll fight, but they're also going to retreat. They know that alone or just with two of them and no healing, they're probably not going to win the encounter against another well-built aircraft with a fairly decent pilot. I don't know if either of these guys recognize me or know who I am. Like I said, I'm not the greatest pilot out there. I'm pretty decent. I can fight the average drone pilot, but some of the better pilots I'm not going to beat in these copters or anything in the sky, really, because they're just that much better than me. They're better pilots. I can admit that. It's not the build that's doing it. They are definitely more skilled at playing the game than I am. So we're going to try to defend this tower, and look how easily damaged these things are. He's at half health. They can't take a whole lot of sustained fire. And you're going to see how poorly they actually handle damage very shortly here. We're going to go back to talking about the match a little bit. And right now, I feel like if we continue going on this route, that the enemy team is going to move in with our high overclock levels, and they are going to be able to strip our core down before we can stop them. So I'm going to go ahead and rush into their base. I've got very high overclock. I'm as high as you get. I can cut through these crystals very quickly. And luckily, look at this. I've got 3 teammates that have the same freaking idea, and one of them is a drone. So I noticed this guy this drone here, he's pounded on my team, and he's one of the hover drones. So I'm going to do something I almost never ever recommend doing. I'm going to fight this guy inside his fucking shield because I want him off of my team. And we're going to have to blink back down in there because I don't want him healing too long, and the copter descends slowly. But we're going to get back in there. He's got a passive heal, and it looks like I'm the only guy shooting at him, and I am taking him down. I managed to get auto heal going, I believe twice now, at least once, inside their base fighting this guy. I mean, that right there should show us that they're not overpowered. And we pulled that win out of our ass with a clutch base rush. I'd like to think I helped a lot by engaging that drone inside his shield and taking him down. So, see, fourth place in damage. We're middle of the pack. I'm not the greatest pilot, but that right there shows that drones are not overpowered.